$500 and they instantly gone. You're like,
just like everything else, these stacking up things is beyond ridiculous.
all right, ready to keep going?
Yep.
And that, I don't know if you saw or noticed, but it has the extended crank.
I saw it from when you stopped.
Yeah, so modern vehicles, you can just bump the key and it cranks continuously until it starts. And on the 10th gen, you just crank, and then if you let go of it, it just stops cranking.
Yeah, I remember that. We had a, because, well, you're talking, so once again, this thing, what, like 350, 400 originally, about?
Yeah, I think the second gen F-150, I think it was like 375, pretty close to that. Maybe 375, 380 or something.
Yeah, but I mean, brand new from the factory. I think even before it went through the torque converter, it was like 260 and 3.
Well, and this truck was a 4.6 truck, so it was 230 horsepower. So I literally almost doubled my horsepower.
Yeah, the funny thing is, if they run a tag on, it's like, oh, it's a 4.6, so that thing ain't nothing. Ain't nothing. Definitely ain't nothing.
It doesn't get old.
How could it? How could it get old?
Yeah, and it will pull well north of 100 too. Like that was like 60, and I let off getting into traffic. But yeah, she will continue to pull.
I'm wondering as far as, I mean, how much weight are you going to try to pull off this thing?
I'd like to, mathematically, I think pretty easily 100 pounds right off the bat. I haven't calculated the difference in the wheels and tires yet, but I imagine with the wheels and tires, I'm probably dropping 150 pretty easily, without even talking about like major reworking on stuff. Maybe it's close, as much as 200 would be kind of the high estimate of what I'm expecting right now. Definitely 200 if I do the battery as well. I don't know the exact weight on the wheels and tires, but
Just something.
but if I drop 200 pounds, the truck is approximately 2/10 of a second faster. That's just basic drag racing math. Is every 100 pounds is a tenth in the quarter mile. Obviously, there's a certain point where if your truck or vehicle is too light, then you can't get traction. But it's not a infinite ratio that.
Right. It's to the point everything has its own give and take on it. That's
It's
why.
a general rule of thumb is 100 pounds is a tenth in the quarter. But if it's wheels and tires, that's rotational mass. So shaving out of wheels and tires is actually more effective than shaving static weight.
Yeah, especially on the sense of if you go on just basic wheel balancing itself, it's uneven weight, let alone when there.
Right.
I mean, you can always reduce that by having more of a higher build tire because they have they balance, I think, a lot easier.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we had a set on Michelin tires on just 20. They were E-rated tires. I think in total we had to put like a quarter ounce to half an ounce on all four combined.
Yeah.
Because just the way they're.
Well, and so the front tires that I bought are Michelin 4S's, which is a great tire already. It's has the sporty characteristics. It's a summer performance tire. It has good corner grip. But I specifically sought out the Ferrari spec of the Michelin Pilot 4S's, which is a 1 pound lighter per tire difference. And it was like $30 more per tire. But I'm like,
30 pounds.
I mean, it's only money, so if I'm buying a $300 tire, what's the difference between a $300 tire and a $350 tire? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's still a tremendous amount of money.
Is that what you kept telling yourself as far as every day you kept working on this thing?
Yeah.
It's only money?
Well, a hopefully I got some good footage from that. That was a fun day. Cumulative, I did probably, well, by the time I get back to the house, it'll be close to 300 miles on the day. Driving around, did a little bit of sightseeing and took him a little bit out of the way to go to the little bit of a mountain road there, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. Hopefully he enjoyed his day. Probably won't get to happen again anytime soon, and that's totally fine too, but enjoyed getting to hang out and get it to show off Fiddy again, because that's always fun, and he appreciates all the little things that I've done, and really looks at, you know, the actual details of the small parts that have been changed and modified and upgraded all over. So it's been a fun day, and I appreciate y'all checking out another video. And I got more stuff coming down the pike real soon, so make sure you stay tuned, make sure you subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'm gonna sign off unless something cool happens on the way home. But yeah, that's all I got. I will catch you on the next one.